press the record button. And as ever on a Friday morning, we will start standing. So, oh dear me, right, I was laughing too much. That's what happens then. So we're going to start with our standing posture. So turn your toes out to 45 degrees, then follow with your heels. And have a quick check on those feet. You want the feet to be parallel and about 2 fist distance apart. And when you've done that, check on where you're carrying your weight. Whether it's at the front or the back of your foot, do whatever you need to do to get an equal distribution. Then move up into the pelvis, thighs nice and tight. Try to kind of rock that pelvis. Can't do that first thing in the morning. So for me, I want to do that because that feels more like it. So try to keep the legs still, but also try to keep the shoulders still. So you're not kind of pushing in and out. You're just trying to isolate the bottom part of your back. Tuck the tailbone under and give your bum a little squeeze, not with your hands, even though that's what it looked like I was doing. Just tuck your bum under and squeeze it from the inside. Then roll your shoulders back and down. And let's just work on where we've got our ears today. So forward and back with your ears. So instead of thinking of pushing your chin forward, which I've noticed sometimes means people drop their chin, what I want you to do is think of sliding your ears forward and sliding them back. And you're trying to get your ears behind you so that you get a bit of a double chin as you pull back. And then you'll notice some of the muscles around your neck, but also into the top of your back. So you want, excuse me, oh dear, that's not good, is it? Finish with your ears sitting over your shoulder, which should be now over your hip, which should be over your ankle. And then breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. And as you inhale, let your belly inflate. Then as you exhale, let your tummy disappear. Now work on that, because when you breathe in this way, you're using your diaphragm. So your tummy inflates and then deflates. Tighten the pelvic floor and shrink the waist, front, back, and sides. And finally, we can start to move. So I want you to bring both arms forward and up, and then circle them out and down. Let's do that again. Bring both arms forward, up, circle them out and down. Now, if that is easy, try to get your arms up to your ears. So as you circle the arms, I want you to try and get your arms all the way up to your ears, but without lifting your ribs or your chest. So for me, that range is only about there, and I've got to almost drop my shoulders to stop my ribs from lifting. Now, next time the arms are out wide, keep them out wide, and we're going to bend to the side. And I want you to reach one arm over the head, then we'll change sides over the other side. So side to side, but as we do this, I want you to try and keep the hips still and bend only from the waist. Now finish with the arms out wide. Breathe out as you clap the hands together. Breathe in and squeeze them back. And again, trying to maintain that neutral spine. So even though I bring my arms back, I'm not arching back. I'm trying to squeeze back between the shoulder blades. And if that aggravates an injury or it's just too much, then do it with bent elbows where it's a little bit less intense. And again, because we're online and it's a little tricky sometimes, what we'll do is we'll say 8 repetitions of everything. So 4 to each side or 8 repetitions. Finish with the arms together and extended, fingertips lined up, and then sweep round to one side and come back to the other. Now, what's important here is that you don't bend your elbows, but neither do you move your hips. So you feel the twist in the waist. The fingers are together. So you don't see a slide or a slip along the hands. When again, you've done 4 to each side, bring the hands in and push the hands in together. Breathe in and drive the elbows up. And then as you breathe out, let the arms drop. So we'll do that again. We push the elbows together and go as high as you can without the elbows popping apart. Right? So as they drive up, try to keep the elbows together. Little by little, going further and further until as you reach the last one, you let them go all the way up, release the tension and circle the arms out and down. Little bit of a focus in the lower body now. So lift first one heel and then the other. But as you lift the heel, stabilize the pelvis and don't let anything above the thigh bone move. So the thigh bone pushes forward, first one knee and then the other, but the hips stay still. Now next time when you lift the heel, keep it off the ground, turn sideways. And what I want you to do is almost imagine you're going to do a bit of a moonwalk. So you're pulling back with your foot and stretching out your toes. Does that make sense? So you're almost trying to really lengthen out underneath the toes and into the ball of the foot. And then I want you to turn your foot and press the toes down. So now you're kind of pushing backwards with the toes and getting a stretch down the front of your foot. And for me, that's pretty intense. My toes tend to crunch up. And so I find that quite intense down the front of the foot. Almost feels like it's going to cramp slightly. And we do exactly the same on the other side. So you lift the heel, you pull back with the toes. You're almost going to press the toes into the floor like you're going to moonwalk backwards. And if that's what you want to do, don't let me hold you back with your dance moves. I've got images now of Martin moonwalking his way backwards across his living room, but I'll look forward to seeing that later. But if you can, just press down through the ball of your foot. It's just about stretching out those muscles in the foot, because we sometimes forget how many muscles are there and how much they're involved in our mobility. Turn the toes under and do the opposite. So it's like I'm going to kick forward, but the floor's in the way. So I'm pressing those toes right down into the ground and lengthening out through the front of the foot. Meanwhile, of course, what we're also doing is starting to balance. So when you're ready, both feet flat on the floor. We're now going to just bend both knees, just a little knee bend, not a squat. But then when you rise up, I want you to try and rise up onto both sets of toes, onto tiptoes. So bend the knees and then rise up onto tiptoes. So we're getting a little stretch in the calf and then a little bit of work. So there's the stretch and there's the work. And when you stand up on tiptoes, see if you can start to linger. So you're there just that little bit longer to start switching on all the balance muscles. And by that, mostly, that comes in from your brain and from your tummy. And next time, when you go down, I want you to try and go a little bit further. So now we're starting to actually squat and rise back up. Down a little bit further and rise back up. Now we're going to try and make this a bit more challenging. Here it comes. So when you get down to the bottom of the squat, wait for me, stay there. Now try and lift both heels off the ground. Keep both heels off the ground and stand up. Then the heels are down. Now, if that's too much, don't do it. Do it the way we were doing it. So you can keep your heels down as you stand and then rise onto tiptoes once you're up. But if you can, try this because it will work you a little bit harder and it will challenge your balance more. So that when you stand up, You're already on tiptoes from the bottom of the squat to the top. Let's just do one more. So you do roughly 4 or 5, and then we're going to stay standing. A little bit more work on the upper body, but before we get there, quick check on the feet, quick check on the pelvis, tuck it under, shoulders, head, everything in place. And then we're going to do exactly what we just did before, but we're going to put 2 moves together. So hands together, breathe in, push the elbows together. Once the elbows have gone as high as they can, let them separate. Circle the arms round and down, and then bend the knees and do it again. So breathe in, breathe out and down. Now, as the arms come out here, I want you to really reach and try and push down through the shoulders. Right? So let's do that again. Breathe in, breathe out and bend the knees. That's it. Let's do another couple of those. So we're starting to feel the shoulder blades move and release the fascia around that kind of scapula, so right around that shoulder blade. Now, next time when your arms come up, keep them up. So you've got both arms up. Now, try to get both arms, I'm going to toot it down here, both arms up by your ears. And then I want you to bend to one side, recenter, and bend to the other side. So from that position, we're here, and we bend one way and bend the other. Now you can see that I'm really tempted to push my hip out. So try to lift up and over without moving the hip at all. Side 1 and side 2. When you've done 4 to each side, finally release the arms, bend the knees, and come back to standing. Well done. Right. Reset the feet, toes out, whatever you need to do, nice and tight in the middle. And then what I'd like us to do now is a little bit of forward flexion. So deep breath in, and as you breathe out, chin on the chest, round the shoulders, and we're going down. Now the first roll down is going to be a little bit tight. So trickle your way down as far as you can go. And just make a note of where you feel the clunky bits. Breathe in, and as you breathe out, push through the floor. Tailbone is heavy, belly button rises. And see if you can remember to come up through the neck as you come up to standing. Great. Now the next repetition, when we get to the bottom, we're just going to draw circles with our arms to help us release the shoulders. So breathe in, and as you breathe out, chin on the chest, round the back, hollow out the tummy. Breathe. And slowly descend. Little by little, reaching the bottom of your roll down. Now, when you get there, to help release the shoulders, just draw circles on the mat. But I don't want you to look at your hands. I want you to look at your legs so that your neck also relaxes. When you've done a few circles in one direction, come back and draw a few circles in the other. And then relax the arms, breathe in, and as you breathe out, we're slowly rising back up. Now, little change. When we get to the top this time, bring the arms forward, up, and gently arch your back before circling the arms round and down. And this time when we get down, we're going to roll the arms, a bit kind of body combat, like a speedball, or wrapping a bandage around your arm. So breathe in, breathe out, chin on the chest, tailbone still tucked under, round we go, slowly, little by little, descending to the bottom. Oh dear, my lower back is really not wanting to move smoothly. Now, hold it at the bottom and you speedball the arms. Now, you can't see your arms because you're looking at your legs, but it's okay. You'll know if they've disappeared at any point. And then, when you've done a few in each direction, release the arms, breathe in, and as you breathe out, begin to rise. Now, the slower you go, the more you will realign the spine, the better the stretch. and the more work your tummy will do. Now, when you get to the top, the arms come forward, continue to rise, arch the back, and circle the arms round and down. Last time, and when we get down, this time we're just going to hold the arms. So breathe in, breathe out, chin on the chest, round the shoulders, belly button pulls away towards the spine. Down we go, little by little, reaching the bottom of the roll down and just hold your arms. Look between your legs or up at your belly button and just let your weight drift from your heels to your toes, from your big toe to your little toe to your heel again. So you're just moving your weight around your feet. No particular rhythm, no particular direction. Just feel the shift and how that changes the stretch in both the hamstrings, the bum, and the back. Release the arms, breathe in, and as you breathe out, start to rise. Now, by this point, the rise should be a lot smoother than it has been, and you should have found that you were able to get lower and closer to the floor. Breathe in, reach back, open up, and roll down, roll the shoulders round, back and down. Right, we are moving to the floor. So if you need to move your mat or you need to move your screen, go ahead and do it. We're going to come down and we're going to come to sitting first. So come down onto your mat and we're going to move to a sitting position first. Once you're on the ground, ideally your knees are bent and your hands are behind you. And while everybody gets themselves set up, we're just going to do a little twist for the hips. So the knees drop one side and then the knees drop to the other side. I'm leaning back slightly, still tight in the tummy, and the ribs are nice and still. Once we're all there, finish in the center and bring yourself right up onto those sitting bones. And then we'll go for a little stretch first. So hook the hands right behind the legs, draw yourself up, and then just round the back. Pull the belly button away from the t-shirt, round the shoulders, tuck the chin in, then using the legs, pull yourself back up nice and tall. Let's do that again. So I'm rounding the shoulders forward, the belly button pulls right back and away towards my spine, and then I'll pull myself up. And there's a little bit of a bump as you go, well for me there is anyway, as I go off my sitting bones and just onto my tailbone. And then when I come back up and do the reverse, there's a little bit of a boom as I go on to, particularly the right one, as I go on to the sitting bones. Now, if you reduce the contact behind the legs so that I've got a much bigger space outside with my elbows. Breathe in, and as I breathe out, I do exactly the same thing, but now I can go further. And I go until my arms are nearly straight. Then using my legs, I'll pull myself back up until I'm sitting up nice and tall. So let's do that again. We go backwards, round the back, tuck the chin in. So now I go over my tailbone and just onto my lower back pretty much, and then pull myself back up. Now, if that's easy, then take the arms away and do exactly the same thing. Rolling part way back, pause, see how that feels, and it should feel pretty tight, and then rise back up. So it's all about the tummy. Let's do it again. Round the back, hollow out the tummy. Now you can stay with this. If you prefer, go back to holding the legs. So if your tummy's not up to it, hold the legs. But if you'd like to make it a little harder, then here we go. The next two, we pause, really get that tailbone tucked under, and then lift one leg and lift the other. Wait, then rise back up. If that's too much, don't do it. But you could try just pausing. You can even pause, but hold the back of the legs. Here we go again. leg one and leg two. And then rise back up. Now here's another option. So this time as we go back, you could stick with the legs, or for something that's halfway in between, move the arms. That's a little bit easier than moving the legs. Now, if you want to make it harder still, and who doesn't, frankly, then roll your way back. Tuck your tailbone under, weight there. Now, the arms come up, both of them. Then the legs come up, both of them. And then in a perfect world, you straighten the legs. Bend the knees, feet down. Hold on if you need to, and rise back up. How is that for you? Let's do it one more time. So one more repetition. Roll back. Get the tummy to switch on. And that's the main thing, is that the tummy is working hard. Then the arms are parallel to the thighs. So you bring up the legs. First one, then the other. Then if you can, you straighten one and straighten the other. And all the work should be in the tummy. Then you can bend the knees, put the feet down, and bring yourself back up to sitting. That was brilliant, wasn't it? Now string, she said, good job you're on mute. Now the legs nice and straight in front, but I'm going to take them that little bit wider. So I'm going to turn and face you so you can see what I mean. The legs just a little bit wider. Breathe in and bring the hands behind the head. And then from there, twist. So first one way and then the other. So now we're starting to work on the oblique muscles a little bit. Twisting one way and twisting the other. Now, if that is just too uncomfortable because you're too tight across the chest or it pulls on an injury, then do exactly the same thing with the arms folded. But what I want you to watch out for just now, because I can feel that I'm doing it, is that I'm starting to lean backwards because I want to be away from my legs. Try to sit up really tall and be right up so that your rib cage is right above your hips rather than behind it. And then from there, when you're back in the center, 4 reps to each side, I'm going to drop the elbow down towards my hip. So it's a side bend. And when we were standing and we had our arms up above our head, you remember I said that I could feel my hips wanted to move? It's exactly the same here, but obviously it's much more difficult for your hips to move. So you get more work out of the waist. Equal number to each side, there we go. Side 1 and side 2, getting the waist to work. Now from there, bring the arms up. And this time I want you to twist your upper body in the direction of one of your feet. Then as you do that, lower the opposite hand to the front and the other hand to the back. So I'm taking my right hand towards my left foot and then the left hand towards the right foot. And every time I come back into the middle, I rise up. So we get that lift and lower. And there's a lift and lower. And when you reach the 8th repetition, as you lower the arm, hinge forward and bring the other arm up behind you. So we hinge forward and then rise. And each time you come into the middle, lift the ribs before you drop forward. Lift and then drop. And again, we go for 8 repetitions, so 4 to each side. And on the last repetition, come straight down through the middle. So feet are still apart and you're hinged forward through the middle. Now, initially, that might be a little bit tight, but if you can reach for the feet, try and lift your ribs up and over your tummy and then pull yourself further forward using the feet. Now, if the feet are too far away, then relax the shoulders and just try and walk your way forward along the mat. And for now, we're just going to hold this position and breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. Now, from there, as you slowly come back to sitting, bring the legs back together again, and then it's up to you. We're going to roll back and then come straight back up again. So if you know that that's difficult for you, keep the knees bent and just do that partial roll back that we were doing before. Breathe out, tuck the chin in, round the shoulders, and bring yourself back up to sitting. Now remember that with this move, the slower you go, the harder it is. Because for me, I get to about here and then my back wants to go clunk and just drop down on the ground. But if you can really tighten the tummy and round the back, not only will you work the tummy harder, but you'll also get a bigger stretch for the spine. So it's still that rounding. And for me, it's that first bit. I've almost got to angle my pelvis slightly in order to get the back to bend. We're aiming for 8, but I understand that might be too many, and in which case, do what works for you. If you do find this easy, even if you go really slowly, you're like, oh, I can do this, I can just hang out here, that's not a problem. Then in that case, link your hands, and for the last 4, keep the hands linked behind the head. Now, as soon as you go to move, especially coming up, your fingers will want to separate. If you find that you can't do it and keep your hands together, then it's not for you just yet. Okay, we'll work our way up towards that. And then when you reach your last repetition, you're going to stay lying down. So if you haven't lain down yet, then come and have a little lie down. The legs are straight, and you can have your hands anywhere you like, within reason, obviously, but the back is in neutral. So your tailbone is on the ground, your bottom rib is on the ground, and there is a gap between the two. Head in the center, obviously, but make sure you're not turning the head, your nose pointing to the ceiling, chin tucked in just a little. And then from there, we're going to just slide one heel in towards us. Wait, breathe in. And as you breathe out, swap the legs over. Wait, breathe in. And as you breathe out, swap back. Now the breathing, remember, sometimes that just causes us confusion, in which case don't worry about it. But generally here we're breathing out to move. The main focus though is on starting to keep the back in whichever position we are meant to have it in. So right now it's in neutral with the gap. And we've got to try and keep it in neutral with the gap as we slide the heels in and out. Now next time when the knee comes in, keep it in and bring the other knee to join it. Then from there, the back remains in neutral as you lift your leg up and down. Then the same on the other side. So we're just building our way up into making this a little bit more difficult, but trying to hang on to good form. So as we pull the knee up and over, the back remains in neutral. Now, as you reach number 8, bring both legs up. Now do you feel the change? The back is now no longer in neutral. So as you drop the leg, our challenge now is to press the lower back into the mat consistently. So there is no gap under the lower back. That again means we need to tighten the tummy, putting the belly button down towards the mat a little bit more. As we reach the last repetition, if you're finding this okay, try as you drop the knee to straighten the leg. And what you're not doing, and I saw this a little while ago, is a kind of a some weird kind of can where we're kicking the legs. The knee must go down before the leg straightens, or as the leg straightens. So you're not just kind of high kicking in the middle, like I don't know, like what, like a baby, but we're sending the leg away. Now, if that feels okay, bring the arms up. And as the leg straightens on the right side, the arm travels to the ear on the left. But still the focus is not on the arms and legs. The focus is on the tummy and the back. So if that's all too much and it's just your legs that you're feeling, try putting the feet back on the floor and sliding away, maintaining neutral on the floor rather than imprint in the air. And when you've done that, next time when you straighten your leg, link your hands behind your head and start to twist the upper body in the direction of the bent knee. Got it? So we go first to one side and then to the other. Now I know we do this, we do it quite often in attack, we do it in pump, we do it in lots of classes, but we do it wrong in a lot of classes. The only twist comes from the upper body. The legs must be going in a straight line. And when you reach your 8th repetition there, hug the knees in whatever way is comfortable for you. So if you're comfortable pulling your tailbone right up off the ground and hugging the knees right in, then do that. But if that's not for you, just hold the legs a little bit further away. In a way, it doesn't matter for the next move, because the next move, we're going to tuck the chin in on the chest, pull the knees in, and as you breathe out, we're going to roll up towards sitting. Control as you rise. Breathe out as you come up. Breathe in as you go back. Now, having the legs close is too much. Then you can have the legs further away as you roll. If it's still too much, then just hang on a second. We're nearly there. We've only got a couple more to do. We'll be with you now. We're going to finish this move sitting up. So when you're ready and you've done your 8, come up to sitting. From there, I'm going to drop the knees to one side and pivot the upper body so that my hand is on my ankle and one hand is on the floor. And from this mermaid position, that hand comes from the ankle up to the ear. I bend the supporting arm and I go over the top, grab the ankle and come back over. Now that might be too much. And if that's the case, there's a couple of things you can do. So the first thing, and the simplest thing really, she said, getting up to ably demonstrate, is to just put a cushion underneath that hip. So it lifts that hip slightly on that side, and then you'll find that coming back the other way is a lot easier. But if that's still not enough, then don't do it. It's okay to keep the arm low or not bend the elbow or just have the legs straight in front. And when you've done around 4 or 5 repetitions, stay on your side and lengthen that arm out so that you can come and lie on the mat. Remember, you want to be parallel to the edge of your mat, so you might need to move yourself about. Now you can lie on your arm, or again, let me demonstrate how to use a pillow. Okay, so you can bring it underneath you if you prefer. The bottom leg is going to bend for stability, and ideally the top hand stays on your thigh. Tighten the waist so that there's a little gap underneath your waist, or at least you want to make it feel like there's going to be. Then lengthen the top leg up and down. Now in theory, and I can feel myself doing it, I'm starting to roll backwards, so I need to roll slightly forwards. A little tip is if you feel your hip bone, so if you really feel the bone through here, you're probably rolling back too far and you want to roll slightly more onto your thigh at the bottom. Now that top leg is going to rise and fall, and again I'm trying to lengthen it. At the top, I want you to pulse 3, 2, 1, and then drop. 3, 2, 1, and then drop. And as I do this side leg lift, I'm trying to lengthen as well as lift. So I feel a bit of a pull on my waist. 3, 2, 1, and lift. All the control to stop me rolling backwards and forwards is coming from the tummy. Now again, you're going to reach 8 repetitions, then hold the leg up. Now this is where the tummy's got to work really hard. Push the leg back, drop it down, then kick it forward and circle it up. So we're circling the leg forward, back, and down. I'm going to do 4 in one direction and then come back and do 4 in the other. And I can even feel my other leg tightening. If you really need this hand for balance, then put it on the floor. But if you can do it without, you will feel how much harder your tummy has to work. And then as you reach the last repetition, let that leg drop over the top and slowly push yourself back up to sitting. So now we're going to switch sides. So the legs come around to the other side. Again, if you need that cushion underneath your hip, and for me, this side is significantly tighter. So I'm all good that way. The cushion really helps me get over the other side. Take the cushion away, and it's a lot harder to get over that other side, right? 4 or 5 repetitions here, but if you really need to have those legs out in front, then have the legs out in front. That's okay too. Then as you reach your last repetition, you're going to slither your way down onto the ground and I don't know why I said slither, and then try to get yourself parallel to the edge of the mat. Top leg, oh golly darn it, I'm so much more wobbly this side. Right, let's see if we can bend that bottom leg for a little bit more support, tighten the tummy, and the top leg goes up and down. Now, the other thing to think about here is that we tend to be quite tight in the smaller muscles of the bum, which then causes our leg to externally rotate. It tends to come from the way we stand. We tend to turn one foot out. And so if you feel that you're starting to turn backwards with your thigh, try to internally rotate the thigh. So almost like you're trying to get your knee to point to the floor. Triple pulse, 3, 2, 1, and we are in the target muscle now. Remember, you're trying to lengthen out through the waist as well. So feel that leg, not just lift, but grow. All right. 3, 2, 1. There. And again, I can feel my leg wanting to roll backwards. So keep turning the knee of the moving leg towards the knee that's on the floor. Almost there. Now, when you reach that 8th repetition, we've got the circles to do. And that's, I find it so much harder this side, where we're trying to balance by using the tummy. Circling that leg. We're also trying to open up that hip flexor by pushing back. So think about the backward push because it opens the hip, but obviously, of course, you will feel that as work in the bum. And again, when we've done 4 in each direction, relax the leg over the bottom leg. And then from there, we're going to bring ourselves right the way round onto our front and do a little bit of work on, again, both the hips, but also into the back. And the first thing we'll do is our swimming prep. So with feet together, knees together, tighten the tummy, shoulders relaxed, and the arms in front. And then how you do this is kind of up to you really, but opposite arm and opposite leg lift. And every time the legs come down, the feet touch and the knees touch. Right? So we're reaching out towards the wall, lengthening out through the shoulders and stretching across the body. Now we'll just hold it with 4 on each side and remember that for later. Then you can do whatever you like with your head. You can drop it onto the mat, onto your arms, or onto a little cushion, but whatever works for you, put the head into a comfortable position. Then bend one knee, bend the other. A quick flick of the heel towards the bum. And that is genuinely as easy as it seems. Then try gluing the legs together, ankles, knees, and thighs, and flick both heels up towards the bum. A little bit harder. Just feel a little bit of work in the back of the legs, the hamstrings. We'll do 4 more like that, but also while we're doing that, we're stretching out the front of the legs. Now hold there with the legs straight and just ease yourself up onto your arms. Now how high you come is dictated by how flexible you are in your lower back. So if you want to come all the way up, come all the way up. If you want to stay a little lower, stay a little lower. But do drop your shoulders. So try to avoid the shoulders coming up into earrings. Then flick one heel and flick the other, just like we practiced lying flat. Now, if that's too much, go back to lying flat. When you've done the 8 singles, go with 8 doubles and squeeze the thighs hard together. And you will feel a lot more work in the back of the legs. Yeah. And into maybe even into the bum a little bit, and even into the lower back. Let's do 2 more. Flick and release. Last one. Good. And then from there, take your time as we push slowly back and into child's pose, giving our back a breather from that position. Coming up onto your hands and knees now, a moment in cat and cat. So just rise up to cat, and if you feel you need a little bit longer there, then just hang out in cat before moving the spine carefully through to cat. Okay? And it doesn't matter how many you do, but aim for around 4 or 5 cycles, trying to keep the shoulders still as you push the floor away and then melt the shoulder blades together as you sink into cat. And between those 2 extremes, you know you have a neutral position. So find your neutral. Remember, neutral and natural can be the same, but they're often not the same. Then I'm going to extend the left leg away along the mat. Let me move so I can show you that. Then bring that leg up. Square up the hip and bring up the opposite arm. So there's my right arm. And I'm trying to touch the wall. Just about got it. Keeping that arm right up by the ear. Sweep out to the side. If that's too much, just concentrate on the leg, because it's not so important to move the arm. The rest of the body stays still. And if you're doing it right, you should feel your tummy really start to work to help you balance. Pushing forward towards your fingers will also increase the work that your tummy has to do. Now, as you reach repetition number 8, keep the leg up, put the hand back down, tuck the toe under and lower the foot straight down. Breathe in, and as you breathe out, without moving the back, slide the other leg back so that now you're in a plank position. Breathe in, and as you breathe out, drive the bum up so that you go into your down dog position, giving your wrists a little breather as you put all the weight into your legs. Breathe in, and as you breathe out, slowly sweep back into plank, but this time, lower the hips, release the feet, gently arch the back. Then from there, bend the elbows and bring yourself back down onto the mat. And we'll do the other side in a moment, but for now, we're lying back down on the mat. And we're doing exactly the same thing in terms of the arms are extended either side of the head. But this time, I'd like you to drop your head. I'm going to have to keep mine up so you can hear me. But I'd like you to drop your head onto the mat. And then just like we did right at the start of the class, I want you to sweep the arms out wide left and right, until eventually your hands slap your thighs. Then go back up the same way. So it's like you're a reverse snow angel. Now there's quite probably a point where you really struggle to keep the arms straight. So for me, when I get to that kind of V shape with my arms, they really want to bend. Try and go through it and feel, can't go over it, can't go under it, got to go through it. Try and keep your, try and keep your arms really straight and feel the shoulders work. Now, next time when your arms come down towards your legs, stop there with your hands on your thighs. So you're like a little dart. Then run your palms of your hands up your body, touching your body, past your ears, and this time only go in one direction. So we're going down the way, then a nice, smooth, sexy, silky run up your body, and then back out and down. And then next time, as your arms come out and down, and now the shoulders are starting to ache a little, try lifting the chest up and off the floor. So it's there, and then lower as your hands come in. In addition to that, if you want to, you could lift both thighs at once so that you make your back into the shape of a banana. But if that's too much, don't do it. And at any point, you can just do the arms. Now, you aim for roughly 8 repetitions, but when you feel you're done, tuck the hands underneath the shoulders and take your time pushing back to child's pose. And then we've got the other side to do. So let's do that. Come up onto your hands and knees and do whatever you need to do to establish a neutral back. So a little cat-cow, yada, 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 whatever you want. And then you settle into neutral. Tighten the pelvic floor. Yeah. Remember you were meant to have that tight all the way through? Yeah, right. So straighten that right leg. Breathe out and lift. Now push your weight slightly forward. Square up the hip and bring up that left arm. Then sweep out to the side and back in again. Okay? Now, remember, focus on the leg rather than the arm. And what I want you to think about is pushing forward, but also lengthening. So most of us here tend to bend our elbow. because that feels so much easier. It brings all the work into the middle. The longer the lever, the harder this is. So if you really lengthen out, you'll only make it more challenging to balance. When you've reached your 8th repetition, lower the hand, tuck the foot under, and lower the foot straight down to the floor. And then from there, as you breathe out, we're going to slide that leg back so that we're in plank. Pause, and then when you're ready, drive up to down dog, flattening your back and trying to press the heels to the ground. And then as you come forward this time, I want you to try and get your left foot to the outside of your left hand. Now, I know my bum goes up here, so I need to try and drop my bum, and in fact, I might want to drop my knee at the back. Then from there, push yourself up to kneeling. So now we're in a hip flexor stretch. I need to check on that foot at the back, make sure it's tucked under. Now, I'm going on about this, and I know I am, but our hip flexors are getting tight because we're sitting down so much. So when we walk, when we squat, when we run, when we sit down, these hip flexors can get really tight. They get tight, the bum gets weak, that leads to injury. So drive down into that stretch. Now you can stay there. If it's more comfortable to come down to the floor and balance, then do that. But then there's that quad stretch that we can add in by lifting that foot at the back. Now, I know we've done this a couple of times lately, but it is worth practicing because that is going to give you a lovely big stretch down the front thigh. And that also needs release. If you feel you've got the balance, you could bring that other arm up in front if that is possible. Then slowly release. Now, both hands come down inside that front foot. Lift the back knee up and off the ground. Sweep your way back to plank, just like that. And then step the other leg forward. So now do whatever you need to do to make that happen. Even if that's picking your foot up and putting it down, or even if it's moving your hands and pushing back to match where your foot has landed. Then lower the knee carefully at the back. Push yourself up. If that's okay, then think about bringing up that leg at the back. Now, as I pick that leg up, I'm picking it up so that there's no confusion. It's my left leg, and I'm holding it with my left hand. So I'm not reaching across with my right hand. Then I'm going to rise up, if you can, and sink into that stretch. Now, from there, release the foot, the hands come back down, the knee at the back rises, and we step back to plank. Oh, yes. Then from there, drive up to down dog. And then either walking the hands to the feet or the feet to the hands, bring the two together. Now, hopefully, you're closer to the floor than you were when we started. Hold the elbows and do what we did when we did the roll down at the beginning. Shift the weight from your heels to your toes, big toe to little toe, and back again. No particular direction, just shifting the weight, feeling the stretch in the legs, the bum, and the back. Then release the arms, breathe in, and as you breathe out, slowly start to rise, pushing through the heels, round in the back, belly button goes up, rebuild from the bottom, come all the way up through the scruff of the neck. Lift the chin, shoulders round, back and down. And there's our Friday morning done already. Well done, guys. Let me stop that recording.